Hi, HRN listeners. We're celebrating our 15th anniversary, and we have a really fun campaign and an ask for you. This 15th anniversary tour is aiming to bring you closer to unique food and music experiences in some of the most exciting cities in America. All the while, we're raising funds to support our work empowering the next generation of food systems storytellers through our fellowship programs. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and be entered into a raffle in the city of your choice to win a dinner for two at a noteworthy restaurant and tickets for two to a concert at a prominent local venue. We have incredible partners in New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Asheville, and Ardmore, Pennsylvania, who have donated a meal for two and two tickets to a concert of the winner's choice. And all donations help fund our fellowship programs, where we're helping to build essential workforce readiness skills and food system storytelling skills. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Diageo Bar Academy. Learn more at diageobaracademy.com. That's DIAGEO baracademy.com.
So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sing. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
Welcome back to The Speakeasy. I'm Damon Bolte.
My name is Souther Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson.
Greg, where are you?
I'm in La Ciudad de Mexico, of course. Where else would I be, Souther? Come on, man.
Why on earth are you in Mexico? And how come you didn't invite us along?
Well, so the short answer is I don't think both of you could fit in my check luggage. Maybe one, but definitely not both. I'm here for...
I'm over the weight limit, and Damon's too hard to fold.
And you know, I can't, Carry On is out because I think you guys are definitely combined over the 2 liters or whatever of liquid that you're allowed to bring on. But
I've got more in me than that right now.
And it's 9 a.m. on the West Coast, folks. Short answer is I'm here for a housewarming party for some friends who moved and have been trying to get something together for a while and finally decided to do a Dia de Muertos thing. Longer answer is this is the last gasp of hot vax summer before I move into get your shit together winter. This is I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I went through a period in May and June of this year where I said yes to literally everything. Like, hey, do you want to come to San Francisco? Sure, let me buy a flight. Hey, do you want to go to, I don't know, Asheville? Sure, let me book a train. Hey, do you want to go to Mexico City? Oh my God, flights are super cheap. Yeah, let's do it. And it was a little bit of cabin fever, perhaps a slight overcorrection, but being safe as much as I can. I'm definitely vaxxed. I'm traveling with people who are all vaxxed, staying with people who are vaxxed, wearing my mask everywhere, even outdoors. And, just enjoying access to the world again before we all sort of have to go back into our hovels and hunker down. And in the meantime, drinking a lot of mezcal. And last night, a little bit of jaranda that is made with some mushrooms, I believe. My Spanish is very mediocre, but I believe that is what I was offered a taste of. And you know what? I really liked it.
Well, you're a man of great adventure. That's for sure this past summer.
Taking a leaf out of the Damon Bolte playbook. That's me.
There you go. The funny thing about this is since we've been virtual with the studio for, almost 2 years now, honestly, I'm kind of you just gave me a weird flashback from Wayne's World when they're we're in Delaware. You can, You could be in your apartment in Brooklyn and telling us that you're in Mexico City, but I would believe you anyway.
It would be really easy to just gaslight all you guys. Next week, just be like, so I'm in Singapore. Really, just have some Foley in the background, like a little bike's bell or whatever. It's like, oh, there's a bike messenger. Such a vibrant culture. But yeah, now I think this is the last exciting place I'm going to make everybody in our virtual studio jealous of for a while because money and winter and possibly like, I don't know, an 8th wave are coming. So time to hunker down. But so far, no regrets with all of the craziness that 2021 has brought so far.
Well, I'm psyched for you to be doing some traveling. I wish I could do some myself. I will actually be doing a little gig. I want to say it's upstate, but it's not really upstate. In Rhinebeck. Damon, do you know where that is?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I've never been. But Eamon Rocky invited me up there to do an event. I'm actually going to be there on show day, so I'm probably going to do the show from this little bar called Bia, and we're going to do a fun industry-driven event. They're typically closed on Wednesdays, but we're going to get behind the bar and shake up some drinks and do some damage up there in Rhinebeck. That'll be the first time I've been basically more than 3 miles from my apartment in again, almost 2 years.
Rhinebeck, New York, Mexico City. I mean, tomato, really.
Yeah. They do the Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck. Do you know about that?
I do not.
So it's it basically it's exactly what it sounds like, the Sheep and Wool Festival. So like it's a bunch of hippies who like harvest wool and like make yarn and have like apple cider donuts and honestly a lot of people who are having what Greg had last night. Upstate vibes.
Upstate.
Lots of hippies doing hippie shit and celebrating the fall festival. It's pretty cool.
Well, I can't wait to get up there just to get out of town for a night. They're going to put me in an Airbnb or something. And I don't know. We're going to do some drinking outside the city for once in 2 years. Speaking of drinking outside the city, let's start talking about drinking inside the city. In the virtual studio with us today, we've got Zach Snyder and Matt Friedlander, dear friends of us and the show. And you guys are finally getting your shit together in the Lower East Side. What's going on, guys?
We are desperately trying to get our shit together in the Lower East Side. We are opening a new bar and kitchen in 2 weeks, which is strange because as far as the paperwork and the permitting and finding a staff, that's all sort of taken care of. We just got to finish building it, which usually comes before or sort of consecutively or concurrently with this process. But it's going to be very, very fun the next 2 weeks, watching to see what happens and what perhaps doesn't.
Basically, we're going to tell all the guests on opening day not to touch the walls.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's completely out of the norm in this process, but adding a new layer to the whole system, of course, is getting all this done during a pandemic and a supply chain shortage.
Yes.
I mean, that's got to be big hurdles.
It's been interesting. I've been making jokes like, I bet Danny Meyer never had to go through any of this shit. But then realizing that Danny Meyer probably has a lot more money than we do. I guess one of the big challenges has just been, getting the materials that we need. Stuff as simple as plywood. And just seeing that there's been a plywood shortage in the world now because of, a lack of employees and a lack of people who can cut down trees and then process them in and then truck them to Home Depot. And it's been interesting.
We're all seeing supply chain issues with all sorts of things. Greg's down there in Mexico. I can tell you this, my newest bar, Etheria, is all spirits from Mexico, and we're having a tremendous amount of trouble getting our back bar stocked all the time, and it comes down to glass.
Sure.
There's plenty of juice. They just don't have any bottles to put it in.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I would say this, but there's a Midori shortage. A sentence I
didn't Wait, the one case is almost depleted?
Someone just grabbed it and it's absolutely crazy.
It feels like a gladiator match to get Midori, something, again, that I never thought would happen. But for the construction, we've had to be creative. And when we started the project, we looked at how much was left here from the previous tenant and said, what can we reuse? What can be utilized? Don't throw anything out. And we've kind of had to be creative with the contractor.
Yeah, of course. I think that you're probably being pushed into a little bit more frugal state than maybe you would have had this not been the situation. But let's talk a little bit about you two first. Your friendship, how long you've known each other and been conspiring to put this project together, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the project itself.
Man.
Sally can wait.
Sally can wait. So yeah, Zach and I have been friends for 6 years, 7 years. And we were both working for the same hospitality group in 2015, 2016. The place that Zach was running closed an hour or two earlier than the place I was running. So he would often come by after work, and we would share gripes about, what was going on at our respective places of business. Nothing, terrible, just, the normal, typical GM stuff that you bitch about. And at a certain point one night, after many, many drinks, which is when all great ideas hatch, we said we should just open our own place. At the moment, or at that time, all we knew was that we wanted to serve Miami Vice cocktails, because Zach makes an incredibly delicious one that incorporates some things in it that you don't normally see in a Miami Vice.
I'm going to just guess Midori.
Damn it. All right, well, that secret's out.
Actually, it's just rum fire with red food color.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Whatever works. And I knew that I wanted us to serve Cuban sandwiches. At the time when we were sort of conceptualizing this, I held the very unpopular opinion that there was not a decent Cuban sandwich in Manhattan.
And I seconded it.
I'd tried all of them. Every time someone brought up a certain place that's well known for them in the Soho area, I would go on a 3-minute at least rant about how that sandwich was terrible and it wasn't constructed right, and Chipotle mayonnaise does not belong on a Cuban sandwich. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we had. So, and of course we were both working full time as general managers and getting our butts kicked on the weekly. So there wasn't really a lot of time to conceptualize it. We just sort of kept talking about it whenever we needed something to cheer us up. And it wasn't until 2017 that we actually even came up with the name, and we didn't even come up with it. A friend of ours did. We were at a Holiday Cocktail Lounge.
Heard of it?
Yeah. It's again a place where lots of great ideas are hatched
and forgotten.
It's a real think tank.
And yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure all of you, but especially maybe Damon, might understand my modus of thinking here. I said we got to think about this the way that you go about naming a band. So I'm going to write down a list of 30 names. You write down a list of 30 names. We get unlimited and unchecked veto power, and we'll just go. And we made it through all 60 of the names, and we were nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And it being Holiday Cocktail Lounge, and on I believe a Monday or a Tuesday, there were a bunch of our industry pals there, and they were heckling and saying, why don't you call it Two Overweight Jewish Guys and blah, blah, blah. And so, so eventually we just sort of, threw our hands up and said, listen, this is getting nowhere. It's really, really late. We should get home. I've got to get home and walk Sally. It's my dog. And a friend of ours said, oh, Sally can wait. And I sort of laughed and looked at Zach, and Zach was like, oh, that's the fucking name.
I mean,
it was either that or oy vey. And
well, you'd need to be in Brooklyn, I think. Sally, your little puppy who has her own Instagram, Sally Puppy, right?
Yeah.
Adorable. Plus, there's a tie here, isn't there? There's some musical influence to this name.
So Sally was named Sally because of the Oasis song "Don't Look Back in Anger," and when we first heard this name, and Zach's eyes lit up and my eyes lit up, I was the one. I still am the one who kind of second guesses everything and goes, okay, so well, sell me on it. And Zach came up with a great way to describe it about, like Sally can wait and so can everything else.
Yeah, I mean, the idea lends itself to escapism, and that's really the key to our bar. When people ask what's the theme, we just say it's a bar, and it doesn't have a theme, it has a feeling, and that feeling should be a place that you can sit in for 4, 5, 6 hours as time melts away, and so do your problems.
Yeah. What
I mean, when I'm at a bar for 4, 5, 6 hours, my problems don't melt away. They multiply.
I was going to say, like, when I'm with Souther at a bar, oh god, for that long, I realized that I have problems that I didn't know that I had before.
Okay, I'll rephrase it to you forget your problems.
You forget your problems after 2 to 3 hours, maybe.
Well, no, I mean, like, honestly, I did a film shoot for Harley Davidson a couple months ago, and we were out in the desert of Nevada, and when we realized we were talking about escapism, we're interviewing all these people, and we were trying to figure out what that idea was, but it ended up being that escapism is more about like extreme involvement. Right. Yeah, getting your escapism at a bar, that's one thing, but you're actually becoming more involved than you're not just like tuning out. You're actually becoming more involved and more in touch with humanity at that time.
Sure, you're not tuning out as much as you're focusing in.
Yeah. So like in the early days of Prime Meats, like no one could get text or phone calls because they had no cell phone signal. And I was like, I blamed it on these old 19th century ceiling tiles, these 10 ceiling tiles. But in reality, I had a cell phone scrambler. And so but the thing was, people kind of freaked out. They didn't know how to like, it was already too far gone, right? From reality, where they needed the security blanket of having their cell phone and a screen. And this was like, over 10 years ago when we did this. But like, they're like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, well, why don't you fucking talk to the person next to you? You're at a bar. Like, you could be drinking at home for a lot less money than I'm going to charge you. And we don't even take credit cards. That's how old school it was. Like, you're going to have to walk down the street and get cash. But escapism, you're escaping into a new reality that's actually an old reality, right? You're getting more involved with people around you.
Yeah, I think there's a comfort in an immersive environment where, if done right, that Matt and I can become the hosts of this environment and kind of cradle you when you're here. Yeah. And that's something we want to afford every guest.
It's also, I think, a matter of just, the team that we put together here, as far as the front of house team, wasn't necessarily looking for, the best cocktail driven bartenders, in New York. I mean, we have a cocktail program that's ample, and it's got something for everybody, and they're going to be not the easiest ones to, serve. I mean, obviously we're doing certain things to, expedite things, but we're really just looking for people who have the personalities that we would want to spend a lot of time with, because we're going to be spending a lot of time with them, for hopefully the next 5 or 10 years. And the idea of, coming out of, what's been happening with COVID and with restrictions and, just the general feeling of malaise and, despondency, both in this industry and with the people who are, still visiting us in bars and restaurants. We were really just kind of excited to bring something where people can just socialize and talk to each other again, and, and meet strangers and become friends, or, become lovers, or, whatever the case may be. Something about just curating an old school bar environment where you walk into a place alone with your phone in your hand, and you hopefully leave in a few hours with 2 or 3 new friends. That's something that, we think is really great, and was the status quo for a really long time. And I haven't really seen that as much lately. And we're hoping to curate that in our own way.
That
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Instagrammable bathroom selfies.
I mean,
You
it
can
seems
still
to-
take a bathroom selfie without cell phone service. Just so you know.
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, cue them up and fire them out later. So it sounds to me like what you're kind of trying to build is the place that you sat and steamed up this idea together. Maybe there'll be people in Sally Can Wait that are cooking up their own ideas to go on and do things.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. It's, you know, I mean, there's something I think really, really sort of cool and redemptive about the way that this came about and the fact that we have been working on it for 4 or 5 years. I mean, we were 2 weeks away from signing a lease at another space in February of 2020. And yeah, it was a bullet dodged in retrospect. But you know, we've been sort of developing this idea and this place for so long and been talking to so many people about it. I think it almost became something of a running joke. Like, oh yeah, eventually, you know, Zach and Matt are going to open Sally Can Wait. You know, right around the time that, you know, Justin Bieber's running for president. But you know, it's a very, very exciting time, and it's one that we're really, really proud of, and we're hopeful that, you know, the people who we bring on to the team and the people who come to visit us can look around and go, wow, well, if these two fuck ups can pull it off, then really, you know, maybe anything is possible.
Dreams do come true. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. We're going to come back and keep talking to Matt and Zach about Sally Can Wait. Gents, the December 1st application deadline is quickly approaching for World Class 2022 season. You know, I got to do World Class in its first and second seasons here in America, and I think, frankly, it was kind of life-altering for me.
In what way?
I mean, dude, it's basically you're on stage for the entire world. It is world class, by the way, and you're being watched every step of the way as you go through this pretty rigorous competition. It's somewhat like, I mean, I'm sure the comparisons are all out there, but it's kind of like the Olympics of bartending. And you know, you have to be thoughtful, and you have to go through a lot of process to make it happen and to feel good about it. So I feel like it was a training ground for me back then.
Yeah, but Southern, you love the attention. Don't even
You know, Damon, you might be right. I think maybe back then I didn't maybe have a lot of attention coming my way, and this was an opportunity to get seen by my peers all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. It kind of reminds me of like when you have a VIP at your bar and you're like, oh, I got to make sure I do all the cool shit right in front of like him or her or this person. And like, you know, it's like having an entire bar that's just VIPs. And yeah, it sounds like it was really great practice for your burgeoning podcasting career, Souther.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you just like making tons of like Ramos Gin Fizzes and just like getting the bar top dirty? Like what were you what were you doing to impress them?
I mean, back then it seemed a little bit more simple, but you know, the toughest round of the whole thing, I think, still to this day. And now, as public, you can watch. You know, back then it was just again, as Greg says, just sort of the VIPs in the room. Now, as the public, you can watch at Diageo Bar Academy. But the roughest go, of course, is the speed round, where you have to knock out 8 to 10 drinks of varying style and technique, and get them all presented as fast as you can. And that is a tornado.
I'm sure that Greg is probably your next trainee for this, right? Are you going to do this, Greg?
Hell yeah, man! Why not? I love a good speed round. I love trying not to make a huge mess, especially because, you know, my skills home bartending over the past year and a half, I've gotten a little bit more lax about spilling on the countertop, so I feel like I can use a little boot camp session to really get my ass back in gear and get back in the game.
Well, there's plenty of resources to get that boot camp on at Diageo Bar Academy. You should visit DiageoBarAcademy.com to explore world-class educational studios and apply to compete in this crazy competition. It's the biggest one in the industry, and applications are open to all hospitality professionals. Of course, got to be 21 or over. You can check that out at DiageoBarAcademy.com. That's DIAGEO BarAcademy.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Speakeasy on Heritage Radio Network. In the studio today, we have Zach and Matt from Sally Can Wait. So, you know, okay, you talked a little bit about this before where the name came from, and you were sitting at Holiday Cocktail Lounge, and the name harkens back to an Oasis song, and that song is definitely a late night bar sing along type song. And
Yes.
Holiday Cocktail Lounge is known for that, right?
Right.
Several pop ups at Tales of the Cocktail. What's that? What was the bar called? That they did the pop ups at. It's
not gonna pull it.
It's a block down from Aaron Rose. It was a brilliant idea because like there was all this kind of hoopla about like non-sanctioned Tales of the Cocktails events, and the Neff brothers just decided to invite everyone to this dive bar, and they just loaded the jukebox with a bunch of money, and you could pick out the songs, and they're like, we're just going to hang out and do sing-alongs here. Right. It was brilliant. I'm wondering if there's any of that kind of vibe that the place of origin where the kind of like story begins at Holiday Cocktail Lounge. Are you going to have any of that kind of vibe? Is it like I've got several questions, but I kind of want to start there.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that about a week ago, Matt and I sat in our office downstairs and spent about 6.5 hours categorizing playlists for different vibes from a playlist that we've been curating for about 3.5 years.
There you go. Nice. That's exactly what I was looking for.
We'd had sort of a rough day on the renovation construction front, and sort of my task list was done, and I just wanted to do one thing that I guess would be productive and also feel good. And we had over 1,000 songs on this massive playlist that we'd been adding things to, some of which we didn't remember adding them to. I look and go, why did I put this song on here? And then it was like, oh right, I think this is a really good song for brunch. This is just a really, really classic brunch song. It doesn't belong anywhere else in this in Sally Can Wait. But we put together 4 different playlists. The Sally Can Wait Busy one is the one that I think you're probably referring to, and that's got a lot of crowd pleasers and songs that elicit sing-alongs, and just again sort of curating for that hopefully 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. vibe where everyone is feeling the revelry and kind of in a great mood, and feels like opening their lungs up a little bit. Absolutely. The music is, I think, a really large component of why we're doing this, and what sort of is going to convey that vibe and that feeling that Zach was speaking to earlier. I've always joked that the only reason I want to own my own bar is so I can be in charge of the playlist. Like that's really, for sure, 80% of the reason why I'm doing this. Yeah. Just to never have to hear a song that I don't like ever again.
But I mean that's got to be important to you. You're also a known musician yourself.
Sure. And we are coming from a company recently, or where the playlists were very short and very repetitive, and definitely curated a vibe that the owners were going for. But you can only listen to so much Serge Gainsbourg before you're like, I'm going to disembowel myself.
And that sucks because like Serge Gainsbourg is an amazing musician and artist.
I used to love him.
Yeah, and then it gets ruined for you. Yeah, I deal with that a lot.
Especially when he's paired with Brigitte Bardot.
Yeah.
And you really...
And it's like audio porn. Yeah. Like,
exactly.
That's absolutely what it is. They were like recording them having sex in studio, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
But like, but doesn't it suck when like it gets ruined for you because you hear it so often and you're just like, God damn it! And then it like start having like these memories attached to this song where you're like, oh, I'm in the weeds and I can't get over to the stereo and skip this song. It's like terrible.
It was very funny because when Matt and I were reorganizing the playlist and finding stuff, he'd look at me and go, oh, you were at home. You just got off of work and were stoned. You added like 36 songs with no lyrics. Or,
nice.
The other one that was interesting, and it speaks to like the escapist vibe. We both really love this song by The Cure called Burn. and it's a great song, but we're listening to it and we're like, everybody is going to leave here depressed.
It's just like, where does this fit in? Like it just doesn't work.
Man, we used to like at last call, we were trying to figure out how to get people the fuck out. Like, you know, there was always like one couple who's camping out and they're on a date. You could tell it was like an early on in their relationship date. And, you know, they're just totally in their own world and like, that's cool. That's cute, whatever. But then also at the same time, they're being kind of defiant about like the fact that the lights are up and the chairs are on the top of the tables. And like, they kind of just don't give a fuck. And they're kind of messing with you. So we'd always put on Tom Waits and like, and Tom Waits will like run most people out of the bar. They're like, oh, this is fucking creepy and weird. And like, but then sometimes it backfires because then you have that like 2% of people are like, oh, hell yeah, you're playing Tom Waits and it's really late and I'm fucked up. And like, I'm going to stay here forever.
Well, I go with the Jimmy Kearns approach, which is to put on movie soundtracks because you can't really make out to the Imperial March.
Right.
I know this question comes up a lot among bartenders. Like, what's the sound that you play at the end to get people out? I learned this over 20 years ago, closer to 30, when I was in Chicago. The best thing to do is turn up the lights and play the national anthem. Everybody has to get on their feet. While you're on your feet, get walking.
That's amazing.
Everybody's gone before the song's over.
Right. I'm trying to think of a bar or a restaurant I've worked in the last 15 or 20 years that doesn't have a Strawberry number 23 on their playlist. Like, that's just one of those that just everywhere I've worked, it's on the playlist, and was the one thing that was just like, we cannot have that song on because it's just going to trigger everywhere else that I've ever worked in my entire career.
Yeah, kind of back to what Damon was saying. I know that feeling of being kind of in the weeds and then a song comes on that you don't like and you're in the weeds, so you can't take that moment to go change it. But right. I also know the feeling of being anywhere in life, out and about, in a car, whatever, and hearing a song that reminds me of being in the weeds.
Yep.
Right? You suddenly go right back to that spot, you know?
We've done it in Grand Army. We actually... I think anyone that's been in Grand Army knows that I'm like kind of a big fan of Celine Dion, and so we'll play. It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which is actually it's actually the Canadian national anthem, I believe. But
wow.
But it's like one of those things
version,
where it's like everyone, it's in a very like kind of like sing along style. Everyone like gets into it, and then it's like done. Because where the fuck are you going to go from there? Like you can't play anything else at the end of the night. It's like, all right, I guess we're done. Like there's like once you've smoked weed with Willie Nelson, like you kind of you don't smoke weed anymore. You're like, I'm never going to get higher than that. You know, like
right.
Once you've sung along with Celine Dion, there's nowhere to go from there.
You're pinnacled.
Yeah.
So we're talking plenty about the music. We've talked a little bit about the Miami Vice. Well, talk to me about some of the offerings that we're going to have at Sally Can Wait, and also let's talk about the important thing. I know things are behind schedule a little bit, but when the hell are you opening?
Okay. Well, let's talk about the food and drink options and offerings first, because that we know. So basically, we're opening again a cocktail bar. We're going to be serving elevated comfort food that is flecked with some Jewish and Latin accents throughout. The signature sort of menu item is going to be the Cuban sandwich, but we're going to throw a little bit of a pastrami spice into the lechon component, the roast pork component of that.
And some Midori.
Absolutely. Doing a Reuben sandwich, but with grilled mahi-mahi instead of corned beef.
Oh, man.
There's going to be chicharron, sort of like little pork skin that's crisped up to order. Some really, really interesting food items that we think are really accessible and a lot of things that people can share, but also sort of speaks to the neighborhood that we're in, the Lower East Side, with the history of, the waves of immigration that came in here through the late 1800s and early 1900s.
We're also doing things like soy garlic chicken wings or a dry version, which is schmaltz covered wings with everything bagel seasoning.
Oh, hell yeah.
Whoa.
We're going to have bacalaitos, but in a Nashville hot chicken style. And a chicken, what's it called? A chicken liver mousse sandwich. Some stuff that really harkens back for us. And then,
Chopped
the
liver.
all-winning hot dog.
And the what hot dog?
An all-winning hot dog, because, kosher.
Just because why not? Let's just put a hot dog on the menu.
Goddamn,
Hot
yeah.
dogs and cocktails? I don't know if that's going to work, guys.
We're trying to think of someone else that's done that in the past, and
Yeah, no one's going to buy fried chicken in a bucket. That's just not happening. And then the bigger question that I asked, of course, when can we start to hope to come and sit at Sally Can Wait?
So our plan is to be open in 2 weeks from today, so November 17th. We are going to likely do sort of a soft opening a few days before. We're still working out the exact details of when that'll be. But the plan right now is to be open to the general public on November 17th, 2021.
Located.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's
Still working that out. November 17th, put on your calendar, location
exactly.
TBD.
We'll tell you where it is once we finish it. So we're at 252 Broome Street on the Lower East Side between Ludlow and Orchard, 1 block south of Delancey.
I mean, a great location. Lots of foot traffic down there. The space, I got a chance to see it when you were still just cracking into it. I'm sure it's come a long way since then. I'm pretty excited for you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And, again, bringing things that I think are really great for this neighborhood in the cocktail program as well. There's a lot of nightlife, as you mentioned, on our block and in this particular part of the Lower East Side. And while we are south of Delancey, so I don't think we're technically in the Hell Square area as it's referred to by some, but just like a lot of different options down here. And we're sort of, I think, taking a very whimsical and fun approach to our cocktail program, just in terms of the presentation and the ingredients that we're using. It's something that we're very excited about. The frozen program will run year round. We'll probably add another offering to it during the spring and summer months because, of just the volume that we plan. But there will always be a Miami Vice available in the dead of winter at Sally Can Wait.
Perfect.
Should you want to have a little bit of a transportative experience?
Yeah, you
Say
bring
about
up.
opening date that if I have to serve you a Miami Vice out of the trunk of my car on the 17th, it's happening.
Copy that. It's a hard open. We're definitely doing it. You keep referring to Miami. Where does that all tie into the Sally Can Wait?
We were, initially struggling with the concept, even after we'd come up with the name, with people, particularly with investors that we were talking to, asking us, well, what's the concept? And the answer just kept, coming up. Well, Zach and Matt open a bar and we serve food and we're going to have this and we're going to have this.
It came, when we were writing down, the key word that kept coming to us was nostalgia. It's in all of our early notes, even in our early brand decks. And when we really sat down and talked about it, the one thing that came clear was it's not about nostalgia. It's about the things that brought us to food and beverage in the first place. And that's our histories, our pasts, and our families, and the places we grew up.
And I grew up in Miami. I left as soon as I possibly could because while I do love the food and the beaches and and the people down there, the nightlife that I was around when I was a late teenager was very out of my depth, or I was very out of my depth. But as I've lived in New York and when I do go back to Miami, there's something that's really, really charming and wonderful about this. Again, an incredibly immersive sort of nightlife where there are, salsa clubs and, rum bars as far as the eye can see. And then over the course of, I think, the last 10 to 15 years with, places opening up in the Wynwood area and, Cafe La Trova and Sweet Liberty.
Yeah.
Like all these bars are doing just incredible things down there and really turning Miami into, you know, more than just a nightlife destination, but something that was really taken seriously in the food and beverage world. And for good reason. Just everything they're doing down there has really great integrity and really great execution.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking snippets of sort of that Miami vibe and combining it with, you know, sort of pre-prohibition Lower East Side stuff, and finding sort of this weird, very interesting hybrid in terms of the design and the food and bev offerings, and just again, like the sort of the culture and the vibe that we're trying to curate. It's been very interesting to sort of try to work within those margins and see how creative we can get within them.
I mean, it sounds super exciting, and you know, we've all waited. We're all friends here. We've all known that you've been cooking this idea for a long time. We're super anticipatory of it getting open. I definitely want to be there and be a supporter. Do we get? Is there going to be like a vote on your Instagram? Who gets to be Crockett? Who gets to be Tubbs in this situation? The deep cuts.
Yeah,
The deep cuts.
yeah. I think. God, I think Zach's got to be Crockett. I really do.
I'll take it. I had assigned myself a palm tree, so
Yeah. You know, my hometown of Panama City Beach is where Don Johnson's house is. I just throwing that out there.
We're dying for them to show up at some point. You know, once they show up, we're not necessarily a big fan of putting ourselves at the forefront of, you know, the brand of this, so to speak. You know, I think it's really, you know, we're focusing on the team really being, you know, sort of the face of the operation, and Sally will, you know, obviously be scurrying around from time to time. But if, you know, if Crockett and Tubbs show up at our bar, we're getting a photo with them, and we'll put it right next to the cease and desist letter I hope to get from Noel Gallagher sometime soon.
Yeah. Nice. Well, do you guys already have some sort of Instagram or whatnot you want to pimp out real quick?
Yeah, we do. So our Instagram is Sally Can Wait NYC. It's also the handle, I believe, for the Facebook and the Twitter.
And soon to be TikTok.
Yeah, we've spoken with I guess sort of our target demographic, and they've brought up TikTok, which I do not understand. I'm 40 years old, and you know, it's just not something that I can wrap my head around. But apparently, this is a thing.
It's like Vine, but more complicated. Like, just remember Vine? It's like that, but harder.
It took me 3 years to get like really comfortable with Vine, and at that point, no one was using it anymore. So
I basically downloaded TikTok, opened it up, panicked, called Matt, and said, "We need to hire a social media manager."
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same.
And she is fantastic.
Well, no longer do we have to wait for Sally Can Wait. 2 weeks. We're all going to be there drinking Miami Vices in our pastel-colored light linen jackets shoved up past our elbows.
Yes.
That's the look. That's the vibe. And I couldn't be more excited for you guys, especially you, Matt. You've been a friend of mine for a long time, and you've been talking about this project for far too long. Really happy that it's finally coming to fruition, and we're going to really get to see what you can do out there.
No one happier than us, trust me. or maybe, you know, our parents.
They're so proud.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you know, it's this actually, I think, you know, just given again, you know, the time that we spent, you know, working on it and refining the concept, and God knows how many, you know, hurdles and setbacks, and okay, we're back to square one conversations that we've had over the past 4 years, but particularly in the past, I'd say, you know, year and a half, 2 years. You know, it's been a really, really rough time, I think, for this industry with COVID. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And we're sort of, you know, coming at this as hopefully, you know, ideally being part of the light that's at the end of the tunnel. And just really excited to share that with the neighborhood and with, you know, New York at large, and hopefully the world. I know that Zach is definitely planning on doing some pop-ups around the country once we get our legs under us, which we're excited about as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I know you're probably pretty busy getting the final details in order for an opening in just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Again, I will absolutely be there. Maybe Greg could join me. He's in New York. Damon, you're a little far away, but if you want to fly in, let's go to Sally Can Wait.
I am really looking forward to it. I actually just texted you guys a picture of me with Sally and it bundled up in my jacket. I think this picture's from Basic.
Oh, wow.
Adorable.
Yeah.
It is from Basic.
Aww.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys. Can't wait to see your bar. Can't wait to see Sally. But like, I want to say something real quick about this. I love that. It's kind of a funny situation that we've found ourselves in. Like with like COVID and like not even like with COVID, like the fact that we all have worked at like cocktail bars and we've been doing that for so long and we've kind of pushed that so far out there into the public eye, right?
Right.
But then enough to where we can actually take a step back and just open up a fucking bar. Like that's really important. I always say that, like calling it a cocktail bar is like calling it a food restaurant. Like, like why do you have to describe it in that way? Like, oh, it's a cocktail bar. You can go to this bar and get like cocktails. You should be able to get cocktails at any fucking bar. So it's interesting to be in this time, having worked at these spots and kind of moved the needle so much to where you can just open up a fucking bar with Miami Vices with Midori in them. And, it's gonna be the best, but it's gonna be the best fucking version of that you can possibly get. And we've taken ourselves very seriously to the point where like the general consumer has like taken note of that, and we're at that point. I mean, doesn't it feel cool to be there?
I talk about this a lot with people, at 2A, which is, like a really cool rock and roll bar on the corner of 2nd and A in the East Village. I mean, they have a cocktail program now. And, when I first started going there back in, the early 2000s, it was beer and shots and one-on-ones and that's it. And to be able to walk into 2A right now and get a properly made old fashioned or a Moscow Mule says something, I think, about where, this industry has gone over, the past 20 years or so. And I think it's kind of cool because now, the public expects when they walk into a place to be able to get a decent cocktail. And it puts a lot of the bartending community all on equal footing because now everyone has done the work, they've read the right books, they've trained with the right people, they've practiced, they've, refined their palates, they've done all the research and development to, create these incredibly, intricate and esoteric cocktails. And I think now, because everyone's there, it's going to revert back to why did people want to go to bars in the first place? And that was just to have a great time and to be treated really well. And I'm, another big reason why, we elected to work with these bartenders and these servers and these barbacks was, the personalities behind them and how they we hope are going to make our guests feel when they come in. At this point, yeah, you can get a really great cocktail in most places in New York City. So the idea of, curating an experience that's going to make people want to come back for something other than the drinks is, I think, what's, of paramount importance to us and to the team. I've been saying for a very long time that I never, ever, ever imagine us winning a Spirited Award and taking a plate home from Tales. But if we take home Best Bar Team, that to me will show that we've done right by what we wanted to do.
I think also, when we talk about the knowledge and the tools and the techniques that we've all curated as bartenders, why did we do it? And Matt and I have always said we wanted to do that to provide the best hospitality for our guests, that the cocktails we're making are not about coming up with the most esoteric drink or to impress some judge, but to make a guest feel like they're unique and they're special, and that hospitable moment where you get the drink that you wanted in the most perfect way is really what we're trying to do.
And that's what's going to make Sally Can Wait the greatest bar on earth.
It's going to make Sally Can Wait worth waiting for.
Yeah. Well, hey, guys, that was amazing. This has been so much fun catching up with you. Miss you guys. I can't wait for Sally Can Wait to be open. I can already tell it's going to be one of the best bars in the world. So, I'm serious. You know, you guys fucking, you kick ass, you know, like
a lot of heart.
Yeah, a lot of heart, man. So I can't wait. So I just want to say thanks again for being on the show today and talking to us about it. And
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and congratulations, guys.
Thank you. It's going to be a fun and hectic 2 weeks, but we're just really looking forward to opening the doors on the 17th.
Hell yeah. Well, cool.
I miss bar backing.
Yeah, well, like whenever, when you're on your 37th straight night in a row behind the bar, give me a call. I can like talk you through it.
The one thing everyone's been saying over the last couple of years, all of our friends, like, anything we can do to help you out, just let us know. And it's like, don't worry, those phone calls and text messages, they're a coming.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, awesome, guys. Really appreciate you cutting out some time to hang out with us on the show today, and all the best with Sally Can Wait. I'm going to send you guys this picture of me with Sally. We'll post it on our Instagram and stuff. So that's it for the Speakeasy this week. Check out Heritage Radio Network for many more programs like this one. Click on the Beating Heart to donate to the station. Keep us going. Check out Sally Can Wait. Until next time, cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
So you don't shun the devil with your
The Speakeasy is powered by Simplecast.
Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content and to learn more about our 10-year anniversary celebration happening all year long, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network.
Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows that you like. Tell your friends. And please, join the HRN family by becoming a member. Just click on the Beating Heart at the top right of our homepage. Thanks for listening.